When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With twinspires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with twinspires. And now you can race to victory with twinspires tournaments.
Welcome back to the Twinspires Racing Roundtable. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Vance Hansen. Today we're going to look at the Rebel and Honeybee at Oaklawn Park on Sunday, as well as Turfway Park racing on Saturday and Friday. Kentucky Derby and Oaks Prep races were held there. And then, as always, what else caught your eye from the weekend? But before we start, I'm here with your weekly reminder that Kentucky Derby Week tickets are available at KentuckyDerby.com. So definitely head to that website to get your tickets for any or all of those days of Derby Week. And now we will move over to Sunday's Rebel and Honeybee, which awarded 50 points to the winner of each on the road to the Kentucky Derby and Oaks. And Vance, what were your takeaways from both of those races?
Well, from a betting perspective, my concern with Cole Battle going into the Rebel was that he would be a bit of an underlay, given the fact that his previous two Derby prep wins, the Springboard Mile and the Smarty Jones, weren't overly fast vis-a-vis the competition in the Rebel. But as it turned out, Cole Battle offered tremendous value. He went off at nearly 12-1, and kudos to those who took advantage on Sunday. It was the fastest of his three prep wins to date, and he remains undefeated on the dirt. Although, looking back on the race, I was still looking for something a bit quicker at this stage of the prep season. So I think Cole Battle moving forward, he's got some great assets. He's got positional speed, as he showed from post one here, and he's got a nice turn of foot, as he showed on the far turn entering the stretch. I don't necessarily think he'll be flattered by some of the horses behind him. I'm not sure runner-up Matticat Road is really going to want to stretch out to 10 furlongs after weakening a bit late, going a mile and a 16th here. And the favorite Sandman seems to me as a horse that just tends to break slow and is entirely pace dependent. I could see him getting a piece of the Kentucky Derby spoils in another couple of months, but perhaps not the biggest cut. So those were kind of my takeaways from the Rebel. As far as the Honeybee, it was nice to see Perpetual Bridesmaid Quiet Side wear the tiara for once. After a string of seconds and thirds, she finally got her first stakes win on Sunday. It was a nice step forward for her. And owner John Ed Anthony has been in this game for many decades now and hasn't won either the Kentucky Derby or the Kentucky Oaks. So him having a legitimate contender for one of those races is really great to see. I'm not sure what to make of the favorite Muhima's flat third in the Honeybee, other than the fact that she was cutting back from 9 furlongs, and which perhaps wasn't ideal. And she also might be the kind of filly who'd be better served being on or closer to the lead than she was in the Honeybee. She did that. She was fairly prominent in all three of her juvenile races, and of course won the Demoiselle wire to wire. So those are kind of my top takeaways from those two races on Sunday.
James, do you agree?
Well, I agree with Vance's take on Cole Battle. I'm not making any judgments on Sandman. I mean, first off, the thing with Cole Battle is you can go look at the chart. I mean, find me a horse in a 2-turn stakes Saturday at Oaklawn that's like 8 lengths off the pace, early pace after a half mile and wins. He's the only one. And he's by Cole Front, who was like a talented sprinter miler type. You look at Cole Battle's bloodlines. He comes from a speed-laden, speed-geared female family. And he broke his maiden sprinting last July at Evangeline Downs. In fact, his first 3 wins came in Evangeline, Delta Downs, and Remington Park. So it's been, I think, easy to underappreciate Cole Battle as like a serious like Kentucky Derby type. But you got to give him a lot of respect, I think, for that effort on Saturday. That was a big time performance. He really improved his like speed ratings. He launched his move on the far turn. That's when winning moves are launched. He was like challenging him for the lead, like straight into the stretch, like horses do all the time races are won off the far turn. I loved his turn of foot on the far turn. He even traveled wide on the far turn and edged away to win by a little more than a length. That that's his 5th straight win on a dirt track. His only losses have come on turf, and he jumped to the top of the Kentucky Derby leaderboard with 70 points, so he's pretty much guaranteed a spot in the Kentucky Derby field. Now, with all that being said, that race is a 1.16 mile race. The Derby is 1.25 miles. All these races are further than 1.125 miles in the Triple Crown this spring. So I still do have my doubts about Coal Battle at distances. But I think he is a really good horse, obviously, right now. And I remember, I'm not going to compare him to a horse that's retired and won all these stakes, but I remember in 2009, Musket Man. I mean, he was bred for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, not the Kentucky Derby. But he ran 3rd in the Derby and 3rd in the Preakness on just guts and heart alone, wound up earning more than $1 million. And, Coal Battle's sort of from the same vein to me, a very, very classy, hard-knocking colt. As far as Sandman goes, Vance didn't point out he was 15 lengths off the pace over a track that it was impossible to win from there. And, he got beat 2 lengths. I mean, he was flying late. He was clear 3rd. I mean, that's another step in the right direction. Mark Cassie's looking to get that horse to peak in the May 3rd. All he needed to do was finish well, and he did it. So I thought that was another step. What he looks like 2 races from now is anybody's guess, but he's moving in the right direction. And he would be the horse for the Kentucky Derby, though, that I wanted. And I'll echo his thoughts about Quiet Side. I mean, you could maybe say that this is like a confidence-building win. But, the top 3 in this race are 1, 2, 3 all the way around. I mean, the off-the-pace runners were up against it a little bit Saturday. And 5G and Quiet Side, they just flip-flop spots in the stretch. So I did like her win. Maybe she can continue to advance off it, but she still has something to prove to me. I thought Mahima, she is being judged by her stablemate, Good Cheer, and Good Cheer won impressively, and she ran 3rd. So I thought it was sort of like a step back for her, though, but she still has time to rebound and turn things around before the Oaks.
Not much more to add there. I agree with you, James, on the pedigree question for Coal Battle. We don't know if 1.25 miles really will be suitable for that horse based off of his pedigree, at least on top. And I will say, though, he is the surprise feel-good story of the road to the Kentucky Derby. He's got the lead right now for Lonnie Briley, who never even had the Derby really in his goal as a trainer. And now he definitely has that as an option. It's probably guaranteed Coal Battle would have enough points to be one of the 20 in the starting gate. And then as far as his dirt performance, he's 5 for 7 overall. His only losses came on turf. He became a millionaire after his win in the Rebel, and he had a career best 98 Bristnet speed figure and beat some really good horses that have been high profile from some high profile trainers. Matticat Road, Admiral Dennis, and Hypnus disappointed in this. And I think now Admiral Dennis, who I feel like maybe 3 weeks ago was someone we were talking about on this road at the Kentucky Derby. Now the last 2 performances have you kind of concerned about him, but Hypnus didn't show up as I was hoping after his big debut win. So the fact that Coal Battle beat so many good horses, you have to respect that. But again, the distance of the Derby, that's the big question mark.
Yeah,
as for Quiet Side, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. And no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to switch over to Quiet Side, so you go ahead.
I just want to say that you're 100% right. I mean, regardless how he runs in that, he could run 6th in the final prep, and it could just excuse it. If he's healthy, he's got a spot in the Derby field, and he deserves the chance to run in it. This isn't an imposing year for 3-year-olds, at least right now.
Right. And as far as Quiet Side, it just felt like it was a matter of time she was going to get that graded stakes when she had placed in 4 straight stakes, including 3 graded stakes, and had run up against really good Brad Cox fillies and Immersive and Good Cheer. This time we thought Mohima probably would be too much to handle, but Quiet Side came through. And my big takeaway was, Mohima took a step back for me, especially after we were at Fairgrounds 2 weeks ago, watched Good Cheer yet again put in a 5th straight win. So now I think the separation is there. In the meantime, that Good Cheer is the best filly in Brad Cox's barn after Sunday. All right, let's move over to Turfway Park, where Twinspires was on site this weekend for the Cincinnati Trophy Stakes, which was an Oaks prep worth 20 points to the winner. And then we also had on Saturday the John Battaglia worth 20 points to that winner on the road to the Kentucky Derby. James, do you feel like we have a major contender out of either of those prep races after this weekend?
Well, I'm a little bit skeptical, but I will say California Burrito and White Rocks are eligible to keep developing. I mean, they're early to me in their career cycle. Both of them are really just sort of coming on as 3-year-olds. White Burrito, California Burrito. He won only one of 4 starts as a juvenile. That was like $150,000 maiden claimer. So,
and there they go in the 40th.
He didn't show a whole lot at last year as a juvenile. And then this year, he's like changed run styles for Tommy Drury Jr. You can see him. He goes right out to contest the pace here and eventually wrestles the lead away from the outside horse. And, as a result of like showing more speed, he's got 2 wire-to-wire, 2 front-running wins this year, California Burrito. His first one was an allowance race. He won by like 7 lengths. This time, he really had to dig in and turn back a strong challenge from Baby Max. So, I like what I'm seeing. I mean, they still got something to prove. Both of these races that he's won this year had real slow paces, but I'm not going to dismiss his chances outright, and I just feel like we'll get a better gauge of California Burrito in the Jeff Ruby Stakes on March 22nd. White Rocks also, she broke her maiden 2 starts back in front-running fashion by like more than 5 lengths, and boy, oh boy, she just took it right to him in Friday's Cincinnati Trophy. She was up by like nearly 10 lengths on the far turn. Now, she did hold on to only win by about 1.5 lengths, and that number came back a lot lower than she got a number in the 80s while California Burrito got a number in the 90s. But, that was only her first stakes appearance, and she can continue to improve upon it. So both horses are early in their form cycle in a sense, in their development, and could go on and become nice horses, I thought, Vance.
Yeah, I'd largely echo your talking points here, just saying in a different way. Neither race really turned my head. The Battaglia turned out to be a tactical win for California Burrito. Kudos to Baby Max for trying to close the gap, chasing that soft pace. Both horses have some decent dirt form from last fall, but ultimately, for me, the different surface is a sticking point. Them performing on synthetic this past weekend and the Derby being on dirt. I know we're supposed to give Turfway form a closer look following the efforts of Rich Strike and 2 fills, but it's that kind of form is more likely to emerge in the Jeff Ruby next month than in this race. White Rocks in the Cincinnati Trophy, she just built up a huge lead, had enough in the tank to hold off Admit in the stretch. And just to me, both would appear to be creatures of Tapeta until they have an opportunity to prove otherwise.
I will say that Baby Max though did break his maiden at Churchill 2 back. So
I alluded to their decent dirt form.
He has something going for him like that. Like both 2 fills and Rich Strike had won as juveniles at Churchill also.
I give the slight advantage to California Burrito over White Rocks as far as who might actually be a player in the Derby or the Oaks. But White Rocks went gate to wire on a day that we had 8 wire-to-wire winners on the 10 race card on Friday. So the track bias there has me a little skeptical just because we saw so many horses go to the early lead. And if it had played more true, who would have come out the winner? California Burrito did go gate to wire 2 starts back, got away with very slow fractions, but had a huge late kick to win by 7.25 lengths. 2 starts back at a mile at Turfway. And then this most recent start, Irving Moncada opted for the mount on California Burrito over Coming in Hot, who was also in this race, and said he had been working out really well. He liked the way that California Burrito had looked earlier in the week and made the right choice here, went gate to wire once again, but had a contested lead this time. And I thought holding off Baby Max late, I thought showed, that was I give him points for that. Baby Max too. It should be noted that Luis Saez picked up the mount on Baby Max because First Resort scratch. So without that major player who had won the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill, does that shake things up too? It kind of, for me, lessened the result a little bit for California Brita not having First Resort in the field. All right, well, let's move over to some racing over in Saudi Arabia and talk some other results. So, Vance, what else caught your eye from the weekend?
Well, we had the world's richest race, the $20 million Saudi Cup on Saturday, and this one really lived up to the hype as we had two world-class horses, Forever Young and Romantic Warrior, putting on a terrific stretch battle. Romantic Warrior, based in Hong Kong, one of the world's top grass runners, major wins in his homeland, Japan, Australia, and Dubai. He was making his first ever start on dirt in this race and likely his last. But he took to this unfamiliar footing just fine, and he looked like a winner for much of the final few furlongs after he showed an impressive burst of speed to take the lead, turning for home. But Forever Young is also one of the world's best on dirt, and after being passed by Romantic Warrior, came around him again, reeled him back in, and won by about a half a length. And the rest of the field were in another time zone. So kudos to these two world-class competitors for putting on a terrific show. Right after the race, there were a lot of critics contending that jockey James McDonald aboard Romantic Warrior moved a little too soon to the lead. But, if this horse was the best horse on the day, he would have kept going and won. But he wasn't. Forever Young was simply the better horse, but not by much. I feel sorry in one respect for Romantic Warrior because if he had won this race, I believe he would have been the first horse ever to surpass the $30 million mark in career earnings. That record's going to have to wait. I assume he'll be returning to Hong Kong and he'll resume his winning ways in the fall in some lucrative races. And then briefly about Forever Young, hopefully he will make his intended return to the States later this year for the Breeders' Cup Classic. And that's shaping up to be an outstanding renewal if all the main players make it to the starting gate. Of course, we have White Abario, who just romped in the Pegasus. We've got Forever Young, and we're still awaiting the returns of Sierra Leone and Fierceness. So this could be a really good Breeders' Cup Classic 8 months from now if everybody does make it to the starting gate.
8 months. I mean, the year's flying along. I'll just say I agree completely with Vance about that trip. I mean, wait till mid-stretch to make your move. I mean, go watch a race today. Tell me how many horses rally to the lead off the far turn and win. That was a winning move. It just took a great horse to barely beat, a great performance to barely beat Romantic Warrior. I thought that was just one of the best horse races you'll see. It was great to watch. My what else is going to first off mention a couple of 3-year-old maiden winners, first out maiden winners for Baffert last week. Cornucopia. If he bounces back quickly from the 6 furlong win at Oaklawn Park on Sunday, he may look to jump into Kentucky Derby qualifier. He's by Into Mischief. He's from a real distance-oriented female family, and he just crushed them by like 6 lengths. He got a 100 Brisnet speed rating, a very sharp debut performance at Oaklawn Park for Cornucopia. And then at Santa Anita, a day earlier, Tiz Secure made his career debut. This is a colt by Maxim Security. He's out of grade 1 winning Tough Tiz's Sis, multiple grade 1 winning. She was a really classy router and lots of stamina in that female family too. So even though Tiz Secure and Cornucopia are both exiting these like smashing like 6 furlong maiden wins, if they can bounce back quickly, they're going to 2-turn races and they're bred to handle it. My other what else is going to surround Alexander Helios. And let me just say, when it comes to this Alexander Helios, throw his first 13 career starts out the window. It only took him 2 years and 8 starts to break his maiden. He was a bum, really, sort of, in 2022 and 23. broke his maiden in 2000, at the end of his 3-year-old season. Last year he won. He was banging around in allowance races, won a couple of allowance races before he went to the sidelines. And he's come back as a 5-year-old, a much, much better horse for Safi Joseph. He won and returned from an eight-month vacation at Gulfstream in mid-January and won a 2-turn allowance, going away by about 3 lengths, got a 98 speed rating at career best, came back and got a 104 for this win in the Razorback, faced a much tougher field, gutted out the victory nicely. And that's his second start back from an 8-month layoff where he was just running against like entry-level allowance types last year. He's come a long way, and to say that he's got room to keep improving, I think, is an understatement. So watch out for Alexander Helios. He'll probably be aiming for the Oaklawn handicap in mid-April.
Real quick, taking it back to Cornucopian, he had a 100 brisnet speed figure. Of course, it was at 6 furlongs, and Cole Battle had a 98, racing him out in a 16th, but still, that's a huge number, debut number as well. And I believe his final time was the fastest 6 furlong time at Oaklawn this meet so far. So definitely one to watch. We'll see if he can show up on the Derby. Well, he'll show up on the Derby trail, but can he go to the Derby having not raced as a 2-year-old? We saw Justify do it.
Justify turned around 3 weeks later for that allowance and then turned back around quickly. That's the whole key. Can you bounce back quickly? We'll find out with the Cornucopia.
Yeah. And on the Oaklawn undercard, Cherie DeVoe got a win with Justique and Jose Ortiz in the Carousel Stakes. It kicked off the stakes action on Sunday's card, and there was a brave rail skimming move that allowed Justique to get in time to win by half a length. But Cherie also had a big one at Fairgrounds. It was one of her 4 victories overall this week, and it was with Montalcino, who's a 4-year-old with 3 wins from 4 starts. Overall, Cherie's having a great start to 2025. She had a career year last year as a trainer, in her 6th year as a solo trainer, and now off to a huge start, which we saw at Fairgrounds last week. James, you got to talk to her after Ahava broke her maiden. We also had another maiden winner on the Risen Star card for Cherie DeVoe, and she won a stakes with Taking Candy. So right now, she's 3rd in the trainer standings at Fairgrounds, but she's had fewer starters than Joe Sharp and Brad Cox, who are in 1st and 2nd right now. And she's, having a great season so far. I think with Montalcino, she said that the win this past weekend was just meant to be a prep for the Commonwealth at Keeneland. So she said that he actually ran faster than she wanted him to, but definitely watch out for her at Fairgrounds and Keeneland later in the spring, because I'm sure she'll have a lot of good runners at that Keeneland spring meet too.
Justique was awesome. I mean, what a presence on the female filly and mare sprint ranks. She's really good. DeVoe's got Brilliant Birdie and More Than Looks coming back on the turf, and he absolutely right with everything he said. She's poised for a great 2025 season.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the Racing Roundtable. Again, those Derby Week tickets available at KentuckyDerby.com, and we will be back next week with more stakes recap action. We got a lot of stakes action this weekend, so we'll be back Tuesday to go over all of those results as well.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence. Whether you use handicapping insights, like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.